All right. Well, this is Mrs. Bobby, and this is lesson 13. We are just heading into the middle of this module book. So today we still have the ratio tables going on, but we are now having to introduce some new stuff, which is the variables that represent the words. So for instance, T for trucks and C for cars, those are called variables because variable is a mystery number that at first is replaced with a letter until you figure out what that answer is going to be. So if we look at this particular question, we have Malia is on a road trip. During the first 5 minutes of Malia's trip, she sees 18 cars and 6 trucks. So right there, it tells us there's our ratio, 18 cars, 6 trucks. Assuming this ratio of cars to trucks remains constant, constant means the same, over the duration of the trip, complete the ratio table using this comparison. Let T represent the number of trucks, which makes complete sense, and let C represent the number of cars that she sees. Okay, so now if you look at this ratio table, it says trucks to cars. But if you look at the ratio they gave you, it's cars to trucks. So you just have to make sure you see that the cars are on this side and the trucks are on this side. So we have 18 cars, 6 trucks. Well, once we put this 6 with this 18, we see that we get from a 6 to an 18 by multiplying by 3. So if we carry this pattern throughout this whole chart, we are able to find our missing pieces. So it says, what is the value of the ratio of the number of cars to the number of trucks? Well, let's fill in our chart before we answer our first question. So if we take the trucks and we times it by 3, we will get the car value. So if you notice, the trucks are always a third of what the cars are. Or you can look at it in the sense that cars are always 3 times as many trucks. So 3 times 3 is 9. We have the 6 times 3 is 18. 12 times 3 is 36. But then we have to find out what times 3 is 60. So if we run the inverse operation, so instead of taking something times 3 equals 60, we can take 60 divided by 3, which is the inverse of multiplication, division, and we will then get our answer of 20. So then we can fill in our number. So now, what is the value of the ratio of the number of cars to the number of trucks? So we're going cars to trucks, cars to trucks. So we can look at it as cars to trucks, C's to T's, and we can say that it is a 3-to-1 ratio. Now remember, it doesn't matter if we use the colon, the word to, or the fraction, we still have the 3-to-1 ratio. So now it says, what equation would model the relationship between cars and trucks? Well, it says, what equation? Equation means we have to write a number sentence, but without words. These are using actual symbols, using the letters that we have here to model the relationship between cars and trucks. So if we have cars, they're going to equal, think about this for a second, trucks times 3. Now, see how I put that dot? That's not a decimal. That is a time sign. We don't want to use the X here because an X looks like the letter X, and we actually have actual letters that we are solving for. Another way to write this would be C equals, putting the 3 first, and then the letter. And see how they're touching? Because it means multiplication when the number is touching the letter. Now, if we're using the terminology in math, this is the variable and this is the coefficient. So the coefficient is touching the variable. That means multiplication. Now, we could get a little creative here and think of other equations too. We could say that trucks are always a third of the cars. So when there's one truck, there's 3 cars. That means it's in a 1-to-3 ratio. So that's a third. We can also look at it as trucks equal the cars divided by 3. So that's another way. Now, those are just a whole bunch of different equations that we could use to model. There's not just one way to do this. We can think of different ways. At the end of the trip, Malia had counted 1,254 trucks. How many cars did she see? So if we get rid of this little arrow right here, we see that she had 1,254 trucks. So if we extend our chart, which is totally a great thing in math, it's just another way of looking at it. We can take the equation. We have the truck value. We want to know how many cars. So we could say, let's find the cars, and let's take our formula. Trucks times 3. So we know the trucks, which is 1,254. And if we multiply that by 3, we will get the number of cars that she saw. So then we bring it over here and we just do the math. And I'm not going to talk through it because I'm sure there's a delay. The number of cars that she saw is 3,762 cars. And there you have it. There's another lesson on ratio tables, but putting variables and starting the beginning of some pieces of algebra. And once again, I love Diet Coke. Oh, I mean math.